Well, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Wednesday Night Live. I'm Will, here with Pastor Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for showing up tonight.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
you being here. You look nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I wore this for Heather. I know she likes the vests, as does Amanda, I believe, right?
Yeah. Specifically puffy vest.
This is a little puff.
Yeah, it's got some fur on top of it.
Yeah.
They're in the comment section. I've noticed the past couple weeks we're always getting critiqued on what we're wearing.
So it's funny because we try to look nice.
Do we?
I mean, I do. I mean, look.
Sometimes you try. Like I can tell you tried to do it.
I feel like every video I've tried.
Some days you don't try. Some days there's literally no effort. You just roll in, and I'm like,
you're gonna change.
Yeah. So, we work with what we got, you know.
That's true.
So yeah, these videos. I mean, we're just kind of it's us flying off the cuff. But they're really not scripted, and
nope.
And you know, we don't really plan our outfits out. But
maybe we should.
Maybe we should script it more and have costume and makeup. Maybe that would make it better. But you know, we'll do the best we can.
That's
but we've been enjoying these. The nature of these is just to spend some time talking about just quick topics. We don't want to take up your whole evening. But tonight we're talking about rejection, and so we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we have just a touch base for what's going on in the church and just make sure everybody knows what's up. So let's talk about rejection. That was a big theme of this past Sunday's sermon.
Yeah, so we see Jesus rejected in Mark 6, and then he sends out the disciples to be rejected.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason why this resonates with so many people is I think when we ask, normally when you ask someone like, why don't you share the gospel? What keeps you from doing that? A lot of it is, when you boil it down, a fear of rejection, a fear of not knowing the right answer, someone either rejecting your message or you as an individual, and then having that confrontation. That's rough sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and there is just like a paralyzing factor to being rejected. Yeah. Like there's a fear. Confrontation has a lot to do with it too. A lot of people are fearful of confrontation, and rejection is just makes you get flushed and your emotions start going, and some people just kind of panic in that moment, emotionally and mentally.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you find yourself in a lot of situations in life where you have like those awkward situations. One of them I've always thought about is like toll booths. When you go through a toll booth, like what if you don't have the money to pay?
That's happened to me often.
I'm not surprised at all that this has happened to you.
So
what do? They just
I can tell you exactly what they do.
They like tell you to get out of your car? Or
no, they give you a little
ticket,
and they say, hey, next time you have to this date to pay it, or it's like $50.
Yeah, you didn't pay it either.
I did. No, I always did. I always did. Yeah, I walked that. There's times I've walked into the actual station.
Yeah.
To pay the $4 or $5 that I owed.
Yeah. What if you had like a $20 bill? Because or like some places
they
like
have change.
No, not in Florida. If you've ever been to Florida, they're like there's not even a person. It's like a robot. It's like you gotta have the exact dimes and nickels or. So that's terrifying to me. Like,
yeah, well, because I don't normally
produces a lot of anxiety. Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, no, and normally, like, I mean, I know that we're not talking about toll booths right now, but yeah, that type of rejection's never bothered me. I just assume everyone forgets their wallet everywhere. I know that's not the case. I think so I'm curious because you're a pretty confident fella. Had you ever struggled with being rejected as far as like evangelism or sharing the gospel? Was that ever a fear for you?
Yeah, I think. Well, there's a fear. I think a lot of it's because of my personality. I don't think it's ever really been a paralyzing fear for me to the point that it would stop me from doing it. Because I don't know, my personality is such that I'm just like, the worst they can do is say no.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been my mindset in that. I think there's a maybe healthy, maybe unhealthy dose in my personality of just not caring. So for some people, that might be more of a factor than it is for me. But there is definitely a fear there. I do get nervous when sharing the gospel. I do stammer and stutter over my words when I'm trying to get it exactly right for someone that I'm sharing the gospel with, and so those things happen, and I do experience that. So I think the reason that a lot of people don't share their faith is because it's easier for them to just not do it
Sure.
rather than go through the fear and the anxiety of doing it.
Yeah, so I know for me, like I was really scared with sharing the gospel, obviously early on, for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to make sure I knew what, what they may say back. I was one of those guys that was scared that I wouldn't have the right answers, which kind of pushed me into like studying like apologetics, which then gave me this like great arrogance to where I'm going to argue someone in the kingdom of God, which didn't work either. And what happened a lot of times, I know even early on, was it wasn't so much a fear of being rejected by them, but that they would reject my message because I couldn't present it well enough.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So like I wasn't worried about them not liking me, but it was like, okay, I have to get it right or I'm going to mess it up, and I don't know. It created again this fear in me that's kept me just very still. I wasn't doing anything.
But you can't separate yourself personally from it either.
Yeah, right.
I think if we're just like, oh, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you need to not worry about it. That's kind of a shallow excuse, because it doesn't really work, because you are going to feel it personally. It's like, I imagine of like when people leave our church, to go to another church, it's like, well, you shouldn't take that personally, but you kind of do, because okay, maybe they're going to someone who preaches better or whatever, and so there's just the human aspect of it is you're going to take it personally, but
the gospel is personal, right? And so there's a level, maybe not personally, it's an attack against us, because it's not.
Right.
But personally, we should take it personally in the sense that we care for these people.
Yeah.
We talked about this past week about how with I'm imagining when Jesus is rejected, that he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
But it's not because he's worried about his own ego necessarily.
Yeah.
As much as it is, he personally cares about the souls of these people. But Scripture tells us something about not taking it personally against our ego.
Right. Yeah. So Jesus says this in Luke 10, verse 16, when he sends out disciples out to evangelize. He says, "The one who hears you hears me, and the one who rejects you rejects me, and the one who rejects me rejects him who sent me." And so Jesus is saying, ultimately, if you're heard, if you're received well, they're actually receiving Christ. And if you're rejected, they're actually not just rejecting you, they're rejecting Christ, which is much sadder than just rejecting us personally.
Well, man, it is, but it shows, I don't know, sometimes it's like we put we value our own ego and our own self-esteem more than the glory of the Lord, right? So it's like I don't want to be hurt. I don't want my feelings to be hurt, so I'll allow this person just not to hear the gospel.
Right.
When you really think about that, right? I'll let this person. I'm okay with them being condemned to hell as long as I'm not my feelings aren't ruffled.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to experience the anxiety.
Right.
Then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super shallow, and that's why I think the gospel compels us. The Bible leads us to overcome that fear.
So even in that passage, there is an assumption that someone who has been changed by Christ they're going to be speaking about it, right? Mm-hmm. They're not rejecting you; they're rejecting me. Yeah. So it's like embedded in there that the Christian ought to be sharing the gospel, and not silent. So I'm curious. Why is it? What's something practical that I think people who do have this fear? What's something they can do to help them maybe be a little more bold in sharing the gospel?
I think the main thing is to do it. The more you share the gospel, the more comfortable you'll become with that. Yeah. And I think as hard as it is, the more you're rejected, the more you'll come to grips with what's actually happening, of what Jesus is saying in the scriptures, that they're rejecting him. It's just like Jesus is heartbroken when he's rejected. Right? He goes to Nazareth, he's rejected. 1 Peter 2 says that he's the stone, the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. He was despised and rejected by men. The Bible speaks lots about Jesus being rejected. That doesn't mean that he wasn't heartbroken by that rejection. He's looking at the city of Jerusalem. He's weeping over it. So it should affect you. But I think the more that you share your faith, the more that you'll realize that God's mission will not be hindered by someone's rejection of you. And that just will breed confidence. And so I think it's like the old adage, practice makes perfect. And so the more you can share the gospel, the better. One of my favorite things to do has been, I always look for opportunities to do this where someone I'm discipling or hanging out with, and we'll encounter someone who isn't a Christian, and I'll be like, I'll just ask, do you have any spiritual beliefs? And they'll begin to tell me, whatever their spiritual beliefs are. And I'll be like, well, hey, Jeremy here is gonna share with you what we believe, and I'll like walk off. And I've done that several times, and it's always interesting because then they're just forced to open their mouth and speak truth,
Right.
But sometimes situations like that are really helpful. That once you share the gospel, you get more comfortable with it. So.
Yeah, I like what you said a minute ago, where you were saying that that we should be brokenhearted when the gospel is rejected, right? But the idea that the rejection of Christ and what He took for us, our sin, right? That should move us more. And fear easily can stunt us, but the gospel, right, should push us forward even more.
Further more than the fear.
Yeah. So I'm one more thing. I'm when you say. When you start conversations, I think that's the biggest struggle for people, like that initial thing. So one when I was a new believer, someone used to sit, someone sat down beside me one time, and they said, "If you die tonight, would you go to heaven or hell?" Mm-hmm. And to this day, I mean, they started the conversation, scared the daylights out of me
because I had weird way to do it,
because I thought they were going to hurt me. I really thought that I was in trouble, and I think that's the hardest part for people. So when you say just do it, okay. How can they start that conversation? Because that's really tough to do.
Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is start a conversation. Don't look at it as starting a gospel conversation. Just start a conversation first, and then just look for avenues to get there. So, for example, today I was at physical therapy and working on this arm. Getting movement back in this. I'm doing good, by the way. I know you've been super concerned.
I'm very concerned.
But my arms, I'm almost getting ready to graduate physical therapy, and so nice. I'm at PT and working out and stuff. And there's a guy next to me, and so we're not going anywhere. We're both doing these like lame exercises to get motion back, and so I'm like, hey. You got a wife, you got kids, so he starts telling me about his family and about his injury and how it's like impacted them, and I'm like, man, that really sucks. And we're just talking about stuff, and I'm like, so what do you do for a living? And he tells me where he works, and the company he works for, there's like 3 people in our church that work for the same company. And I was like, oh, I know some people there, and he's like, how do you know them? I'm like, oh, we go to the same church. I'm like, you go to church anywhere? And there you go. And then we had a conversation about what his spiritual beliefs are, and I was able to share the gospel, and it was just that simple. And so I think starting the conversation first, not just being like, you going to heaven or hell?
Right.
Because then he's not going to talk to me.
Yeah.
But start a conversation, really take time to listen to people, and then build a relationship in a moment, and then look for that bridge.
So it's interesting because I was the more hostile non-believer, right? So I think of like my sisters who were in my life, my stepsisters, but they when they met me, I was this unbeliever, and I was somewhat hostile towards it, kind of a smart aleck at times, and I can imagine like how. Their fear would have kept them from sharing. They lived in the same house as I did too. They didn't want to like break that relationship, make it odd.
Yeah.
But they persisted, and they persevered through some of that. And what was really cool that they did was they asked genuine questions and allowed me to speak and share my thoughts. And rather than, okay, let me go through the Roman road and just you sit there and listen as an audience member, they really got to know me, and they really got to hear my story. And like you were saying there, kind of finding the common ground to then bring up the gospel.
Yeah, if you can get to the question of asking someone, do you have any spiritual beliefs? That's a great question.
People will tell you, man.
Yeah, I think Bill Fay is the author that wrote about this, and it's evangelism strategy.
Yeah.
It's just so open-ended.
Yeah,
people will answer that question. It's just broad question, you have any spiritual beliefs? And then see what they say. And like you said, take time to listen. Like, actually, don't just wait for your turn to do your little pitch. Like, actually care about people and spend time listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, it's not a sales pitch.
No,
right.
It's not.
But I think that's why, oftentimes that's what we treat it as, and that's why it gets so scary.
If you don't treat it as a sales pitch, you don't feel as rejected.
Yeah.
Right. Like
yeah.
with the guy today, like I don't think he's showing up at church this week. He might, but I don't think he didn't come to Christ today. But I didn't leave the conversation feeling like I got rejected.
Yeah.
I felt like, wow, I had an opportunity to share Christ with someone.
Yeah.
I didn't feel rejected, even though he didn't receive it right then. I think when you're not making it a pitch, it's just received better and on their end and ours.
So genuineness, intentionality,
Yeah.
and trying to not forced.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's going on in the church?
We got a lot of stuff going on for the holidays. So we have, I don't know if you know that the holidays are coming up.
I've heard.
Yeah, there are these holidays that happen at the end of the year.
Are you the one do you skip over Thanksgiving?
No way.
Okay, because
I like Thanksgiving better than Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I could skip over Thanksgiving. I feel like there's fall decorations and then there's Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like I'm not one to sell. I don't decorate for October and November.
hey,
it's like fall.
if you've already decorated for Christmas, could you make yourself known in the comments so I can know who to block?
You're one of those.
You're a psychopath.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just excited.
So with all holidays coming up, we are doing some things. We always do some benevolent type of ministry.
Yeah.
And I think with COVID, there's even more of a need for this. And so we are currently, we have 3 ways for you to go ahead right now and get involved this week with giving to our community. Number 1, you can sponsor a child for Christmas. You can go ahead and begin shopping for them, and you can get a child's name from the Loop. There's a short form you fill out. That's going to bounce over to Keith Thompson, one of our deacons who runs this ministry and does a really good job with it. And he'll get your information. He'll get you a child and information about that child so you can begin to shop for them and bless them this Christmas. Second thing you can do is you can bring some food. You can help build a box of food that's going to go to people in need in Huntington, partnering with Rebuild for that. And Shauna Hammett's taking care of that. Information for that is on the Loop as well. And then thirdly, you can donate hygiene products. And again, there is a list of those products you can donate. You can bring them to church at either campus. That's right. And that's all listed on the Loop. And so three easy ways that you can give extra this holiday season. And so the holidays are about, appreciating family, spend time with family, but we also want to acknowledge that there are people in need and we can help them. So get involved with that.
Yeah.
Other than that, we launched a prayer team.
Yeah.
So you want to give just a quick shout out to what the prayer team is and explain what that is. And I really want people to start to take use of that and have these people praying for specific things.
Well, obviously the name's in the title, right? Or what they do is in the team name. So it's a prayer team. It is what it sounds like it is. But we meet once a month together, both across locations, and we're praying for individual things that are going on throughout the church. But we're not just praying once a month as a team. We're praying daily. Mm-hmm. So we have this little app that we share prayer needs, and the little dings on your phone, and you go and we all spend time praying for individuals, for individual needs. And so if you want to add a need of yours or something that you want us to pray for, you can let us know.
Yeah. Yep. Just you can comment, you can message the church, right. You can message us through the app. Anyway, and we'll definitely spend time daily praying for that. And not just the pastors. We have a group of people that are dedicated to that. So thankful for that. Thankful for you for tuning in tonight. We're going to let you go. We hope you make plans to join us this coming Sunday. We will be live on Facebook at 10 a.m. from our Valley campus. We have a service at our Valley campus at 10 a.m. and we have 2 services in Milton for you to choose from, 9 or 11. Make plans to worship with us somewhere, somehow, and we'll see you on Sunday.